So, hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. This is the second edition of the Blue Copa product tour. Today, we will be looking at the particular AR observability solution from the hands of our co founder Raghava Reddy. Raghavendra Reddy is not just the co founder of Blue Copa, is also an esteemed thought leader in the space of finance. Having led, built, and managed finance teams in his previous stint across Wipro and Hewlett Packard Enterprise, Raghav brings a plethora of knowledge with regards to all things finance operations. Today, Raghav was wearing a different product owner hat. He'll be showcasing the AR observability platform and show us how to maximize receivables and optimize the working capital. Hey, Raghav, welcome.
Hi, Guru. Thank you so much. Hope all good at your end.
All good, all good. Can't wait for
Amazing.
the product showcase.
Super. Very good.
So let's do it this way. Why don't you get some context on what AR is? Why does observability even have a demand in AR, and what the future of receivables looks like, and then show about the platform.
Perfect. I think that's a good structure to the discussion, right?
Yeah.
Firstly, I'm sure, if you're a finance person, AR is something that you keep hearing on day-to-day basis. But just so that all of us are aligned, in simple terms, AR is the accounts receivable, which is called as AR, is the amount that is the money basically that's owed by customers of a company for the services or for the goods or services that the company has rendered or delivered to the customer. So,
Right.
so legally, because the company delivered the goods, assuming there are no discrepancies in the goods that are delivered or the services that are delivered, company has a right to get the money from customers. So that's basically accounts receivables, right? Again, if we stress into why do companies have receivables, right? They could just collect the cash and then maybe render any service or product or deliver any product. There are a few reasons why companies give on credit either goods or services to customers. One, obviously, it's a relationship building thing, right? Customers get hooked on to you if you give customers on credit, because say, if you're selling any good, customers can buy those goods and then sell in the market and then come back and pay you. So basically their working capital requirements are going to be very minimal in that case. Guru, your screen is frozen. Okay. Sometimes it is also a competitive advantage that you have, right? When it's a commodity that you are basically selling, or the kind of service that you are rendering, having credit may, because the quality and the expectation of the delivery is the same, you might say credit is the differentiating aspect there. So there are a lot of reasons why companies render either goods or services in credit. Broadly, either relationship building, so that you have long-term relationships and your sales goes up. Second, like I said, is to make you're offering a differentiator compared to what the competition offers.
Got it. So would it be appropriate for me to say that the order to cash is basically what uh, AR is all about?
It's one aspect of order to cash. Here is one aspect of order to cash, right? Order to cash talks from end to end. There are a few more aspects to it, but the major piece of order to cash is the accounts receivables group.
Got it.
So also, you can also ask, when there are multiple things happening in finance function, why is AR gaining such a big traction?
Yeah.
Correct. So particularly in the last, 1.5 years, given the kind of macros that we have all experienced, in fact, I would say, from the time COVID hit,
Yeah.
there is always stress on capital in any organization, right? Because everybody realized conserving cash, having, enough runway is going to be super critical. You need not always have the runway by raising more money, either in the form of equity or debt. Right, you can, obviously you'll need to have profitability which will infuse, but one more best way to get to a good working capital cycle, or to a good runway, is to ensure you collect in advance if possible, or on time if possible, from customers. So that's the capital that's locked, and you technically have all the right to get the money as per the contractual agreement that you have from credit period standpoint.
Yeah.
Right. Having said that, while accounts receivable is the bread and butter of most of the finance functions, there are a few challenges why you would see the accounts receivable process is not very streamlined. Broadly, if I have to pick up a few reasons, one, accounts receivables need to have a lot of data from multiple sources. For
Yeah.
example, you generate an invoice against which customer makes the payment. So you will
Right.
need to identify invoice data
Yeah.
against that customers would make payments, and payments might come in multiple formats and multiple sources. It could
Yeah.
be via the payment gateways, as an example, or could be bank settlements, or bank transfers, or somebody might settle in cash. Right, so there are multiple ways. So you will need to have data from all these collection tools. Entries are again passed into, say, your accounting solution, say ERP as an example. You will need to see entries in the ERP also, just to see whatever is invoiced is mapped correctly, or whatever is collected is mapped correctly in the ERP, and whatever is yet to be collected is mapped correctly in the ERP, and things like that, right? So there's a lot of data dependencies, particularly if you're a high transaction volume business, say if you're an e-commerce company or if you're a logistics company, you would have tons of invoices. Sometimes it might go into millions as well. So reconciling that data and always fetching the data, from multiple sources, and just trying to validate the data takes a lot of time. So that made the whole process very, very manual, to some extent, and inefficient to some extent, right? So that's one aspect of it, the sources of data. Second is not having the ability, or not having the right set of processes in place, for you to track and manage your AR, end to end, properly. Right? There needs to be a set process. Whenever there are deviations, right set of people need to be alerted. Sorry.
Yeah.
So right set of people need to be alerted in the organization. All right. Maybe customer needs to be alerted and things like that. So setting up the right processes is super critical. Third is the communication layer itself. When I say communication layer, right, you need not wait till the invoice gets to due stage. Timely reminders to customers, right? Also, whenever there are discrepancies, again, very proactively going back to customers, setting the process for that becomes super critical. So the communication and ability to manage in a very effective way, the whole communication channel becomes super important. So if you have 1,000 customers, right? If you keep sending mails from your, say, from your mail, it becomes too challenging for you to keep track of what's happening, and then there's going to be a lot of to and fro. That's also a very inefficient way. So communication also becomes supremely important when you want to streamline your accounts receivables process. So broadly, it is the data, the quality of data, that becomes very important. Second is second step, once you have the quality of the data, is setting up the right process on top of having on top of the right data. The third, like I said, is the communication channel. How do you interact with your customers? How do you go back to your customers whenever there are discrepancies? How frequently do you go? What kind of alerts do you have that
Right.
triggers whenever payments are due, or maybe 2 3 days in advance before the payments get due? So those things become very, very important. uh, uh, right, so that's where we are as we speak.
Yeah. So in summary, it's the data layer, the communication layer below, and the process in between that manages both.
Correct.
Right? Have I connected it
No,
right?
absolutely, absolutely. Right, at the moment, right? In fact, most of the companies uh, have broken processes across all the three layers that we discussed. And
Oh,
like I said, particularly in the last 3 4 years, when the emphasis is fully on cash flow and profitability, setting up the right structure for all the three layers becomes super important.
got it.
Right, for you to ensure your cash flows are not abnormal, and hopefully not hitting your day-to-day activities. So you need to ensure there are enough processes to take care of your cash flow management, right? So there is also a compliance angle here that I want to highlight, right?
Yeah.
One, if your dues are beyond a particular time period, typically there is an accounting angle that comes in. You will need to set off some amount. If it crosses
Yeah.
beyond a particular tenure, again it depends on which accounting policy, accounting standard that you follow, which geography, which industry, all of that. But
Correct.
typically, there are set offs that you need to do. It can be 100% write off that you might have to do, right? So there is a revenue recognition angle also which comes in, and then there's a compliance angle also which comes in from a regulatory standpoint, right? Are you just selling something for the sake of selling, and then cooking books in the back end?
Got it.
Right. So those things would come in just to show that you are at 100 crores, or 100 million this year, and then next year you are directly maybe 200 million, but you
Yeah.
realize you are not able to collect from customer, which means it's bogus sale, right? So there's a
It's a
compliance
book.
angle.
It's a booked revenue, not a collected revenue.
Correct, absolutely. There's this angle also. So it's very, very important both from internal cash flow management and from compliance standpoint as well.
Got it. Got it.
Uh,
Just
hmm,
gonna quickly put you on the spot here and then ask you a very novice question, right? So from the time you were doing finance back, let's say about a decade ago or so on to now, what
hmm.
do you think has gotten better? I mean, let's of course dwell into AI a little later, but what do you think has gotten better in terms of processes or operations? And what next? Right now, let's bring up AI after this.
Sure. So in fact, there has been quite some transformation, at least from mindset standpoint, I would say, right? The emphasis on cash flow management has gone up significantly. Earlier, you deliver, you were of the view that okay, I will collect from customer any which ways, I have the right to collect, and then as finance team, you move on generally.
Yeah.
Now there is supreme importance given to ensuring your cash flows are not impacted. That's one.
Mhm.
Second, the reconciliation angle has also gone up significantly. Right today, compliance is taken very, very seriously. Right, so people want to be very sure what is getting recorded in terms of revenue is actually realized. Right, so so most of the organizations again are very, very focused on compliance angle. So there is again going to be that's one more area where there has been quite some transformation, I would say. The third, particularly in the last 2 3 years, from the time we have been in the space of building the finance operations product, right? What we've seen is that there's a lot of interest from customers to automate that whole piece. The reason being, the world is moving from traditional finance to strategic finance as we speak, right? Finance teams want to really get into the strategic stuff. When I say strategic stuff, work with business leaders, get the KPIs delivered, right? Ensure you are very proactive in your approach. Ensure you sit with all the business leaders and you become a real business partner versus the traditional approach, which is just bookkeeping and just collating the data from multiple sources, reconciling and things like that. So many companies, many good CFOs that I've interacted with, particularly in the last few years, most of them want to automate the AR piece to the maximum extent they can, so that the manual, repetitive, boring work is gone, and then the team can really focus on strategic stuff that happens in the organization. So there's clear mindset change again, Guru.
Right. I think this validates with one of the things that I read recently. In the 2023 report by one of the analyst firms, they happen to mention that sorting or managing your AR operations is the top three problem for 1 in 3 of the CFOs. So 33% of the CFOs pick this as one of the top three problems to solve for. So it goes to show that how important it is. And
Absolutely.
post COVID, it's become a necessity, not just a requirement, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I would assume post COVID that percentage going up
Yeah, yeah,
drastically.
yeah. Most likely, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
on to the future of receivables and how is AI impacting the whole receivable space?
Sure. So let me do this, Guru. Maybe I'll give a quick intro into what exactly Blue Copa is, right? In probably
Oh,
in under
lovely.
two
Yeah,
minutes, and then we'll get into the AR observability solution that we have,
perfect.
right? So Blue Copa is a finance operations automation solution from a vision standpoint. We would want to automate the day-to-day activities that finance teams do across the different sub-functions that finance teams have, be it your the financial planning and analysis team, or be it the receivables team, be it the payables team, or bookkeeping, taxation. Eventually, the idea is to become a full stack solution,
Hmm.
right? Obviously, the building blocks are quite large in finance function, given the scope that finance teams currently handle. Right, in some organizations, even legal is under finance, procurement is under finance. So finance teams, generally do a lot of heavy lifting in the organization.
True.
Right. So the current piece of the puzzle that we have cracked and offered to a lot of customers is the real time finance observability and workflow automation. Right. Let me share my screen.
Yeah.
You'll need to enable Guru.
Yeah.
So in simple terms, think of us like a layer on top of all your data sources, be it your ERPs, CRMs, marketing tools, payment gateways, invoicing tools, right?
Yeah.
Including Google Sheets, Excels, including your data warehouses. We sit on top of all the tools in the organization, and then
Yeah.
we pull the data that is relevant from your team's context.
Got
If the problem that you are addressing is a reporting automation, right? We fetch the data that is relevant from reporting standpoint.
it. Okay.
If your issue is say accounts receivable, then we sit on top of the tools that are relevant from accounts receivable standpoint. Once we fetch the data from different tools, we have a very solid data transformation layer. The
Okay.
reason I'm emphasizing on that part, in specific, is that there's garbage in every tool that you could think of across organizations, across geographies, right? A
Good.
lot of time that finance team spend is just in reconciling the data, in cleaning up the data, and then getting it to one standard structure for them to analyze it and then act on it. We have
Right.
automated all of that piece. So the data ingestion part, which is collating the data from multiple sources and transforming the data, right? By putting in all the checks and balances that you typically do in an Excel or your Google Sheet, or reconciling the data. When I say reconciling the data, you might use 20, 30 different tools, but tools don't talk to each other. These are siloed tools. We marry the data across these different tools because we by the nature of the product, or sit on top of all the tools, so we interact with
Yeah.
these tools, right? So we have the data, we collate the data, transform the data, and expose the data in data sets.
Got it.
Our platform looks a bit like Excel. Again, that's the language for finance function typically.
Of
Again,
course.
Excel is a great tool undoubtedly, but my only concern is that Excel is not an automation tool, right?
Yeah.
It's a great tool, but it cannot automate your processes. So that's where Blue Copa's automated layer, or automation layer comes in.
Got it.
So we have a bunch of solutions under the real-time finance observability. We have accounts receivable observability, right? And we have accounts payable observability. We have reporting observability. We have payments observability. We have invoicing observability, and finally the whole reconciliation itself as an offering. So we broadly have 6 offerings. Uh,
Okay.
I would also like to emphasize that it's not just the data that you get, it's not just the analytics that you get. Ability to act on it is supremely important, which is where our workflows comes in. So we
Got
also have built workflows on top of your insights and data, right? Which means if some things go wrong, you would be alerted and you can act from the platform. So if
it.
you
Yeah.
are on the accounts receivables solution, your customer would be alerted say 2 3 days in advance before the invoice becomes due, right? Or if it's in due, your customer would be alerted, sent a reminder. Somebody within your organization would be alerted based on the different due buckets that you said. So a lot of things can happen from a workflow standpoint. And
Yeah.
given ours is a SaaS offering or cloud offering, you can analyze and look at millions of transactions from the platform itself, right? You can go to a particular invoice, you can go to a single entry, right, from probably at the company level data, right? Even if you have millions of transactions. So
Got it.
that's where we come in, Guru. So again, just to summarize, we are a real-time finance observability and workflow automation solution,
Right.
typically for high growth companies, or or slightly complex companies which have multiple tools, multiple geographies, and things like that.
Right. Perfect.
Awesome. So I'll pause here, right, and then I'll probably take you through the product itself.
Yeah.
While there are a few things that we can offer from the product, while there are 6 sub solutions, like I said, I will focus on accounts receivables, observability, and workflows for today's discussion. Obviously, in the next subsequent sessions, we can take up each of the other solutions as well.
Yes.
Awesome. Allow me a minute to sip some water.
Yep. Yep. I think you've been very passionate about the topic for some time now.
It's a massive problem. So yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Let me know if you can see the screen.
Yep. It's up.
Awesome. So uh, I'll give you outline of the product, but just focus on accounts, receivables observability. There are, in fact, broadly 6 sections in the product. We have in the home section, which helps in visualization. We have an inbox, which helps predominantly from collaboration, communication standpoint. You can collaborate with your teams from the inbox itself, right? You can run jobs would be shown here. All your alerts would be shown here. In fact, the
Right.
top alerts would be shown on the home section as well. And then we have workspace. Uh,
Mhm.
think of it like the playground for finance team. That is where a lot of action happens. Finance users spend a lot of their time in the workspace. Again, in interest of time, right? I just want to focus on accounts receivable solutions. I'm not going quite deep, but workspace is the place where probably 70 to 80% of the time that finance teams spend would go. There are areas for collaboration within the workspace itself. There are multiple reconciliation modules within the platform, within the workspace itself. This is
Mhm.
completely low code, no code platform, right?
Yeah.
You don't need any programming language. If you know Excel or if you know Google Sheet, then you know Bluecopper. That's simple. You can
Okay.
play around with filters, drag and drops, and things like that. And then we have a library section that takes care of all the different analysis that you have done across the platform. It's a repository in a way.
Right.
So these are the four sections that are used on day-to-day basis, and then we have two more sections, the data section and the settings section. So data section takes care of the integration from multiple data sources, be it
Got it.
in-house build tools or be it third-party tools like your ERP, CRMs, etc., like the ones that I said, or if you have to integrate with your say data warehouses, it's beautifully done. It's all pre-integrated. Our
Oh,
emphasis is to get customers onboarded probably in a couple of weeks
got it.
versus a few solutions or legacy solutions who take a lot of time.
Yeah.
There is a data cleaning angle also in the data section. Once you connect the data, there are multiple checks and balances that you can put in the data flow itself that takes
Okay.
care of data anomalies. And then once you get cleaned data, transformed data for you to act on, do any analysis that you want. And then we have a setting section that takes care of your forex, users, right, theme, and things like that. So
Got
that's
it.
about that's broadly the overview of the product. But coming to the accounts receivables, right? I'll give
Yeah.
you or I'll show you one sample, accounts receivables dashboard that we have created for one of the very large e-commerce companies in the Southeast Asian market, right? I'll just show.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is all sample data, right? This has nothing to do with what customer has, but I just wanted to highlight the structure for your reference.
Got it.
Right. So typically, when you talk about accounts receivables, you would want to understand, what is the overall receivables? What is it? What is the receivables as a percentage of revenue that you have created, right?
Right.
What is the customer level balance? Who are my top 5, 10 customers who are it to pay me, right? Also, what are the different geographies where I face this risk? What are
Yeah.
the risky customers, right? What is the DSO and has it gone up, gone down? So
Yeah.
those things would play a major role. You might want to analyze this information at a company level, but as a finance guy, typically you go to transaction level from the whole platform itself. While the
Right.
dashboard, what you see here is at a company level. I will show you from this whole dashboard itself. You can go to transaction level. There are
Yeah.
alerts also that you can set up at a very very micro level here itself. There is a
Okay.
communication layer. Like I said, we integrate pretty much with everything that you can think of, be it Slack or mails or WhatsApp, whichever is your preferred communication channel with customers. We pretty much integrate with all those communication channels as well. So you can act on the platform itself. You can act from here. Everything gets triggered from this particular dashboard itself. say
Got it.
say if I'm an accounts receivables lead, I just walk into the office, I just open the accounts receivable dashboard to see where we are, right? This is all real time data that you see here. So these
Right.
are again completely customizable, metrics and charts, right? But assuming these are the different kind of metrics and charts that I would want to look at, I just walk in any given point of time. I have real time data for all the data points that I want to look at. There are some KPIs that are there on the top, right? For example, this calendar year or this financial year or this quarter, how is my revenue, and against that, how is my DSO, how is my aging balance, a lot of things that you can look at, right? So and then you might want to go down and see, okay, month on month, how is the revenue looking like, vis-a-vis the revenue, how is the aging balance looking like,
Yeah.
right? What are the different aging buckets, how is my average delinquency, country wise, customer wise, right? Who are my top 10 customers, how is the average delinquency looking like,
Yeah.
payment risk by geography, right? There are also payment risks that you can set up in the platform, which would tell you which customers are probably risky, which would change from a DSO bucket standpoint, which would
Yeah.
jump or which would fall into the higher bucket going forward, and things like that. So
Got it.
that's how it is designed. Broadly, the way it works is, we have filters that you can see on top. You can just add filters, say this is the report or this is the dashboard at company level. You can
Yeah.
just put a filter, and then if you want by for a particular geography, or if you want for a particular customer, for a particular group of customers, all of that, you can just put the filter here. Your whole dashboard changes automatically.
Roger that.
You can, in fact, if you have a large team, if you have say 5, 10 different people working in the AR team, you can enable data access, data governance also in the platform, where you give only the access for the data that each of these finance folks need to have data access for, right? So
Got it.
data governance is also part of it. So you can just put filters and the whole analysis changes. You might say operate in multiple countries, which means multiple currencies, or you might operate in one country, but you might have transactions happening in multiple currencies.
Right.
Like I said, in the settings section, there's a currency angle as well.
Yeah.
Once you set up there, you can play around with currencies in the drop down itself, right? You just
Got
choose the
it.
currency, and whichever currency you want, the whole analysis changes. Say if you operate in 5 different geographies, right? You might want to look at receivables in the local currency for each of these geographies. In
Got
that
it.
case, you just filter by the geography, and then change the currency. The whole thing changes. And
Right.
once this kind of a report or dashboard is built, all you do is just come here and play around with the duration, right? The whole uh, uh, dashboard gets updated. So you created this
Got it.
dashboard for last month,
Yeah.
automatically you change the duration, right? The whole analysis changes. Or you created it for say last year, the whole analysis changes. So that's how it is. I'll just pause here for a minute, Guru, to see
Yeah.
if you have any observations or points to make.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me just quickly check if there are any questions as well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so we have one question. Someone asking that, okay, how do you go about setting alerts and what are the conditions with which how you trigger them? I think we'll be covering that in a bit,
I will
right?
be covering, correct.
Yeah.
I'll cover that. That's an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Then we
also read a question
have,
which says the 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 KPIs that I see here, can these be customized based on the requirement? They can definitely be customized.
yeah,
What we have, like I said, is for one of the customers that we have onboarded, right? But you can definitely customize. Every company works differently, right? While there are a bunch of different KPIs and dashboards that we would offer, everything is customizable, right? You can add more to it. In fact, you don't need to depend on our platform. Like I said, it's a complete no code, low code platform. You can just play around with filters and drop downs. You
right.
can create your own set of reports and dashboards.
Also, I'm guessing that there will be some amount of discussion happening on what critical metrics you want to measure, right? Based on
Absolutely.
that, which you build the dashboard. Got it. Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, yeah, that's right. So the way it works is you have a bunch of KPIs that you want to track. Again, you can edit, you can see it, you can expand it and see, right, all of that. Uh, this particular entry month on month has led to whatever numbers that you see here and things like that. And then
Right.
there are charts below. For example, like I said, at a company level, you see all this data. Now you filter. You might want to, for example, this is AR bucketing, right? Say this is
Yeah.
61 to 120 days. I just click it. I would know by country what is the contribution for that bucket, right? I further click it. I would know invoice wise in each of these countries what is happening. Say I want to look at
Right.
this particular invoice. I just click it. I get an invoice level data. So
Got
you
it.
don't have to juggle across multiple data sources. Blue Copa becomes one single source of truth for you, right? You just
Right.
start analyzing the data from here. Also, everywhere, right? Every chart, every KPI that you see here, there is an alert that you can set. For example, this particular aging balance, there is something called an alert. You just click here. You can
Mm.
set alert at a very micro level, right? Need not be at a company level. At a particular
Right.
invoice level also, you can set an alert. At a particular customer level, geography level, you can set an alert. And not just setting an alert, you can set alert for multiple thresholds for the same KPI. For
Got it.
example, if say if the due amount in 60 to 90 days bucket has gone up to say a million, maybe
Yeah.
a particular set of folks need to be alerted. But if
Yeah.
it crosses 1.2 million, a different set of folks might need to be
Need
alerted.
to
But
be
if it
alert.
crosses 1.5, maybe everybody in the management needs to be alerted, right?
Alerted.
So for different set of thresholds, different set of folks can be alerted. Like I said, you can set an alert at a very granular level.
Got
What
it.
it does is that you don't have to keep looking if there are any deviations on a day-to-day basis, just going around checking the data, nothing of that sort. Whenever there are deviations, you would be alerted in the home section in the alerts. Let me show
Right.
here. On
You,
the
we
right
could
side, you
also,
can see.
I mean, the folks in the collections teams could also set up individual alerts for invoices or potentially address
Absolutely.
problems across the different aging buckets as well, right?
Absolutely. In fact, they can set alerts for their own customers, right? They
Mm-hmm.
can set alerts just for them to keep a track of whom they would need to follow and things like
Yeah.
that. Right, and you can in fact download these dashboards. There is also a way to export the whole thing into a deck. For example, if you are getting into a review with your management, you don't
Yeah.
have to sit and spend a lot of time in making any of these reports and dashboards, right? Everything gets automatically converted into either a PPT or a PDF for you, or you can directly present the same dashboard to your management, or you can give access directly from the platform itself, right?
Yeah.
Users can do all of that. There are a couple of things that I want to highlight here, Guru. One is the
Yeah.
lineage part.
Right.
Right, there is lineage part here. So every entry, any number that you see here can be tracked to the base source. Again, I'm not going into the details of it now, but there is data lineage as well in the platform, which means say you got an invoice, or you might have got two, three different data points for a particular invoice, which might come from different tools. From
Yes.
lineage, you can identify which data point is coming from which tool and what has, and within the tool, what is that particular section from which the data is picked, how is that data that is picked converted into whatever number that you see
Right.
here, right? So it can go to that micro level as we speak from the lineage section. So
Got
that's
it.
one angle that I want to highlight. Second is, ability to create your own set of, charts and graphs is very, very easy on the platform.
Yeah.
Right. And in fact, there's a communication angle also in the platform, like I said. You can set, in the communication, section that we have, you can
Mhm.
in fact set what rules that you want. Right. For example, every time the invoice is, due, maybe an
Yeah.
escalation has to go to the manager of the person who receives the invoice, right? Or 2 days
Right.
before, the person who you sent the invoice earlier might need to receive it.
Yeah.
If say the invoice is not paid, say 1 week post the due date, maybe somebody in the sales team might need to be alerted who would have relationship with the customer.
Right.
Right. So you can set any kind of such alerts and the channel in which you want the communication to happen, be it your Slack, be it mails, be it, like I said, WhatsApp, any format you can just set here.
Yeah.
You can just look at the data. You can just see the alerts happening automatically. What this gives is that you are on top of all the insights. You are on top of all the processes that are set in, right? Which means you know what communication is happening, when are customers paying, all that reconciliations happening automatically. So you are on top of end-to-end process. You can
True.
really focus on strategic stuff like which customers, for example, you can just pick up only the set of risky customers that we have seen in one of the charts, right?
Yeah.
You can just focus on these risky customers, vis-a-vis you today spending time in just collating the data and then manually following up with customers or sending reminders to your internal teams, or struggling with data inconsistencies, right? A lot of that would go. You can really bring in the efficiency of the, you can take the advantage of the efficiency that the platform brings in. I
Right.
would also want to highlight, one of the case studies that we have, right? One of the very large logistics, in fact transport, listed company both across US and Indian market has been using our AR observability solution.
Right.
We decreased their DSO by almost 70%. They have used our accounts receivables observability and workflow automation solution. We could unlock close to 30 million annualized working capital. So the platform has been, tried, tested, multiple use cases have been solved. We've obviously, we have our out of the box, set of different metrics and KPIs that we offer. We've also customized for the customer's requirement, right? So there are a lot of, advantages that you get by automating the data part, the communication part, and the alerts part. You can, like I said, very well focus on, the operational stuff. On the
Yeah.
compliance side also, you are sorted because there are processes in place for you to get alerts whenever, for example, bucket changes happens, or whenever the risky customers are getting added to any of these buckets, so you can act on them, which will again reduce your revenue reconciliation challenges or compliance related challenges.
So, of the whole effort involved, I think majority of the time is spent firstly on the reconciliation and secondly on the dashboard setting up it, right? Essentially, with the replacement of Blue Copa, I'm guessing that time would be saved, which is what the teams will focus on strategy.
Absolutely. So today, roughly 60 to 70% of the time just goes in collating the data and then, reconciling, slicing, dicing. Almost 20 to 25% of the time would get into communicating with customers, following up with
Yeah.
customers, right? Sending reminders to customers. All of that would get streamlined with a platform like Blue Copa. And then, you whatever is the real meat of what you do, which is probably, 10-15%, which is really working on risky customers, identifying, cash flow challenges in advance.
Yeah.
All of that becomes your primary, day-to-day activity versus the repetitive manual,
Yes.
task that you have been doing for quite some time.
No firefighting. I think the essential term
Absolutely.
firefighting. Got it.
Absolutely. So you are on top of the process versus process being on top of you, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. We're constantly fighting with it. Is
correct.
not going to solve for anything. Perfect.
This is
Great.
just a
So,
sample, right? I'll just stop sharing my screen here. This is just
yes.
to give you an idea of how it works. We have, in fact, obviously, it's a quite deep solution. But what I've shown is just probably, the 15-20% at an overview level.
Got it. Got it. So, Raghav, now that you've also mentioned about the e-commerce and the logistics companies across the globe using the AR solution and unlocking working capital, what are the different outcomes that a CFO or a finance leader could get because of AR observability in specific, right? Of course, there are plenty of AR solutions out there. What outcome do they get because they are moving towards AR observability over the basic other operations that they do?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Guru. In fact, just one point that I would like to say is that we have customers across e-commerce, logistics, financial services, SaaS companies, health tech companies. We have across industries. We have that
Yeah.
way horizontal solution. In terms of the outcome, like I said, typically your cash flow improvement happens, which means your working capital gets unlocked. Right, your need to keep constantly raising capital either in the form of debt or equity goes down drastically. Second,
Yeah.
on compliance side, you're sorted. Right, compliance is one major piece that will keep running in CFO's head at any given point of time because that's a regulatory aspect. So compliance angle becomes sorted. Third is your the team's morale as well, right? You do not want your teams to keep doing the same activity on day-to-day basis,
Yeah.
particularly things like just collating the data and then reconciling the data. If
True.
that piece is automated, the real value add that finance teams can do, which is understanding the business requirements and ensuring you identify risky customers, ensuring you work with business leaders, that aspect becomes a larger part of what they do on day-to-day basis. So the team morale also goes up, right? There's obviously with automation a lot of additional efficiency which would come in, the comfort that the finance leaders would get because the accuracies are much higher. So those aspects are always there on top of what I just mentioned.
Got it. Got it. I think the short term achievements or short term outcomes are basically reducing the DSO or the days delinquent, and improving your effectiveness in this, collection effectiveness in this, and so on. But on the high level, it's just you unlock more capital that helps you run faster, run farther, and grow a business efficiently. Right.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Got it.
that's
Got it.
right.
Perfect, great. So that's pretty much it in terms of what I wanted to, or the audience also wanted to seek or understand in terms of what AR observability is. I hope everyone had a great learning experience. Of course, we'll be sharing the whole video across our social platforms so that you folks can come and consume at any point. Just like the AR observability solution that we showcased this time, we'll be showing our payments or AIP, reporting, cash flow, invoicing, all sort of other solutions, and the reconciliation, pure play reconciliation builder out there as well. Stay tuned and follow us on our social media channels so that we update you whenever the next session is happening. And do let us know if you have any questions. Reach out to us over LinkedIn, or just request a demo in case you're interested in understanding how this works. Thanks, everyone. This is
Awesome.
Guru
Thank you, folks.
with Raghav. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Raghav. Bye.
Thanks, Guru. Bye.